Hey, Nelson, alcoholic addict. That is not my real name. That is my pen name that I use here for this newsletter. I heard someone share recently that she had a rough Zoom call with her boss, and she had a hard time not exploding at her boss during this call. And she said she wanted to push back on some of the constructive criticism that he was offering, and she also thought there were some things that he had botched that had contributed to the problem that the boss was giving her a hard time about. And she said her whole head was throbbing, and it took every ounce of energy to just keep her mouth shut and not sort of push back. And she said, she said she knew better. She's better off thinking through what the right things to say might be, and to make sure she didn't say some of the things she was thinking at that very moment. And she said she just kept telling herself to remember, pause when agitated, and that's something we learn in recovery. And she eventually, at the end of the call, she said, thanks for that feedback. Let me think about it and process it, and I'll get back with you. And she said her tone was very pleasant, patient, very calm. And even though that's not what she was feeling, she was feeling not those things. And as she said, as she talked, she noticed herself on the screen saying those things that she didn't feel but wished she did. And she saw it. She saw it on the Zoom window. She saw herself speaking, So in other words, she saw someone on the screen that was behaving exactly as she would like, despite thoughts that were very much in the gutter. And when she got off the call, she said she exploded. She went off a little bit. She said she spent a half hour cursing her boss out. And then she said she said a prayer and called a sober friend. I think she might have gotten to a meeting in the middle of the day too. And so she said by the end of the day, her brain had gotten to the place where her body had been calm, respectful, not agitated, open-minded about some of the criticism, kind of taking a look at what her role was in the work problem. And she said she ultimately felt like her boss was right about a few things, and then there was one thing that she thought he was a little bit misinformed about. And so she said she reached back out later in the day to her boss, and she said that she was going to take a look at what he had brought up and work on fixing it, make sure it didn't happen again. But she also said, hey, there's this one thing I was hoping you could take a look at the next time around and make a little adjustment here. And his reply was that he hadn't considered that he had a role in this, and he was glad to know about it, and he apologized for prematurely pinning it on her. And this woman she just said that's a sober victory. And boy, I just was like, yes, you're so right. And I love that story because I've had some instances of that almost exact thing in my life the past 3 years. Zoom is a strange medium that wasn't in my life until a couple of years ago, and now it is almost every day, and it literally holds a mirror up to your face as you speak. When you think about the conversations that you have had in your life, you never see yourself saying these things or smiling or not smiling or biting your fingernails or whatever. And Zoom does that for you. Sometimes you see dumb stuff, like maybe that part of your barbecue chicken sandwich is still hanging off your face from lunch. Sometimes you can wipe your face off quickly. Sometimes you see bigger stuff, which is that your own growth is right there on screen, being a positive, patient influence on people, even when you don't feel that in your heart or in your head. It really can feel sometimes like you're watching a better version of yourself on TV. And I don't always love the slogan, fake it till you make it, because I don't want to be living a pretend life of good behaviors and smiles and while in my heart having disastrous alcoholic thoughts. And, I want those two things to sync up. But, I do mostly like that slogan because I've seen the benefits. It's kind of an unrealistic bar to set sometimes, that you would just be a delightful person and also have delightful person thoughts. Sometimes if you can be a delightful person and be gritting your teeth a little bit on the inside, it's okay. I think so anyway. I need to do good things over and over and over again to set an example for myself. And because my brain usually follows, even if it's a little bit, a couple steps behind, I ultimately think when I have good actions and so-so thoughts, just mediocre thoughts, that's still a win, And the more of those wins I rack up, I think the more my thoughts get a little better. And yes, I too have had quite a few Zoom calls where my feelings were not great, but I had a smile on my face and I was calm and understanding, and the other person or people on the call had no idea that I'm like, on the inside. It is still an odd juxtaposition on a Zoom call, because there I am wanting to bark at somebody while not barking at that person, while watching myself on a Zoom window not bark at that person. It's an odd thing, but it's a real sign of growth, in my opinion. And I'll take that any day. However, I would like to get a little better about showing up for Zooms with barbecue sauce all over my face, because that still happens on a pretty regular basis. So I'll keep working on it. Thanks for letting me share.